We have with us this morning 5 industry experts to talk to us about cybersecurity. I will now introduce them. Okay, first off, we have Roman Hoffman, Product Security Officer at Liebherr. Could you identify yourself? You just have to go like this, yeah. There you go, that's... Second up, we have Johannes Hipp. He is technical spokesperson for the VDMA. Hannes. We have Mr. Chris Slight. He is Managing Director of Off-Highway Research. Chris, there he is. Excellent. And fourth, we have Laura Fiumara, Policy Manager for Digital and Sustainability with the Committee for European Construction Equipment.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for introducing me. Thanks for having me.
Cool. And lastly, we have Dr. Marcus Heimer, Senior Manager for Electronics for Off-Highway Systems. And he's with ZF. As you got to have a representative from ZF, you know, that kind of giving is the space. Thank you. Okay, now that we've met our experts, I'm going to start off with just a couple of opening questions. After that, I'm going to open up the floor to you, my lovely audience. And then I've got to say, I appreciate you guys coming along, because I know there's a lot of stuff to see here. So I'll ask a couple of questions. You get your questions ready, and we'll all have a very good time learning about cybersecurity, right? Yeah? Okay. First off, and this one is for our whole panel, and you guys can answer as you feel. It's a very general question. What is cybersecurity, and why do we need it?
And maybe I try. Of course, absolutely. So today we are dealing with a lot of data connected with each other. So it is important to secure these data, and then in particular the confidentiality and the availability and the integrity of the data. So confidentiality means the IP which we all have in our systems can be protected by that. And integrity means that the data we are working with is really has not been tampered. And the availability is that our systems cannot be broken down. Denial of access attacks to make us to avoid that we can access our data. And so to protect these things, that's what we need is cybersecurity for. In my opinion, maybe something to add.
Yeah, I can go on. And for us, or for me, cybersecurity is to protect our products, the whole machinery, the supplier program, against external attacks. And the products are digital product with digital elements which have a connection, a wireless connection or a cable connection. And this is what we have to protect against.
Well, that we have the issue comment is more and more machines becoming more automation functionality and working together. And this means the slow processes and data itself and processes are exchanged between machines and IT structures. If you, as an example, if you see the Liebherr autonomous machines, which is in the fair here, there's a lot of process data exchange between IT systems and the machines itself. It should be protected as well as the machine itself.
What form does cybersecurity take? I mean, are we talking, is it hardware that carries software, or is it wholly software?
I think cybersecurity is more or less a point of view of the assets you have and how to protect your asset. And if your hardware is not able to protect your asset, software itself, it is not enough.
I would like to add that it's not just about software or the product itself. It's also about the whole chain. So if we produce an ECU, for example, we have to take care that it is not tempered while it is delivered to the next test or chain in supply chain. So it's also about getting our processes managed. We have is the cages, so yeah.
Does it take the form of effectively a firewall? Is that an oversimplification?
There you go. This be.
I think we should not directly mix IT's cybersecurity with the product security we're doing on the machine, because usually the embedded controllers are a lot so sophisticated to do all these things, and there are different and not so a very heterogeneous world on it. You can ask every hard and software developer which is working on a machine side. This is embedded, more or less bare bones or small operation systems. This is for the Windows, and as some kind of firewalls, yes, especially for telematic or the transferring data to the IT structures. But if you go on the machine itself, there are simple measures to do it, like security systems and certification systems and so on.
Excellent. What kind of threats? I mean, I mentioned at the beginning, right, that the threat is the access to your data and possibly even the machine. Is that accurate, or is there something more? I mean, what are these people trying to achieve in accessing your information? Yeah, Chris?
I think, as private citizens, we're all a bit more cybersecurity aware now, and, we know not to click on links or strange emails and all those sort of things. So, and I think as businesses as well, we understand the threats that core cybersecurity and actually core practices have. So, yeah, it could be the threat of being shut out of your machine, a kind of a ransomware kind of attack. You name it. I'm also kind of quite interested what the experts here feel about as the machine being the weak point in your company's IT infrastructure that lets the hackers in, and all of a sudden they find their way to your bank accounts.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
I can jump. Maybe because I'm policy, my role is policy focused, of course. So I can just say that based on the expertise shared by our members, we representing the old manufacturers of construction machinery. The number of cyber attacks in our industry remains limited at the moment. However, since the multiplication of the connected products on the market available, of course, also the awareness of our members, of our companies, has raised over the recent years. So we are experiencing countermeasures in developing new, indeed, counter measures to face these, to address these attacks. That's what I can jump in.
Yeah, that's in the background of your comment. It's not only an IT or a technical aspect for the manufacturer, it's a legal aspect too, because we have a very huge legal framework which comes to us in the future and which is ongoing at the moment.
And also, if I can just add one thing from your introduction, Julian, you mentioned that when a machinery is connected to the external network, this can be included in the new, let's say, obligations for cybersecurity requirements or being the target of a cyber attack. But that's not the only case I see, because under the legislation, it's covered not only connection to the external network, but also physical one, connection to other external machines, other components. So it's not only through the network, the online network, it's also physical connection that is covered. for cybersecurity
I
production.
understand. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very true. The attacks, and I'm coming at this particular question from a complete unknown. But what form do they take? How are you alerted to something going wrong in terms of somebody trying to access your information?
I believe this is also a matter of data behind it because it's very likely when a machine operates, there's not only industrial data or IoT data covered, but also personal data. So it might be something really serious in this case, the attack. We got, let's say, examples of what happened. Basically, the machine stopped operating. So there was no opportunity of continuing the operation. So that was an example given by one of our members once happened in the past. That's what I can say.
So it's not a case of simply a window popping up on one of your IT systems going, danger, Will Robin say.
Yeah, maybe a breach.
Anybody American get that? No? Maybe?
Maybe that one could be a signal of a breach in your system, and then you can then discover other counter effects, I think.
Absolutely. Well, I guess it's almost like an illness that the earlier the intervention, you as the attackee can respond to somebody attempting to hit you in the wrong way. It's the earlier the better that you can respond.
So that's why it's also important to have good training about how to protect your systems in a proper way at the company level.
Well, that's my next question. Is it human or automated intervention at that point? I mean, can a system be smart enough to help block that type of access?
Absolutely, but I think the discussion about the attacker is more or less not really targeted. We should more talk about assets and what is to protect as a responsible manufacturer. And we don't know where the attacks come from and what are they really targeted to do with something. Because there's a lot of malware, it's automated, there are malware bots around. And nobody can know if your service engineer who's working on the machine has an infected PC or laptop with a service software on it and brings some malware in the machine itself. But I don't think that the approach to think what attacker could be achieved is not the right discussion. The right discussion should be what assets should be protected and what is the outcome if this asset is corrupted. This is the right direction, and it doesn't matter wherever has an attack.
When you say asset, what exactly did you mean? The machines themselves, or do you mean all related infrastructure?
This is the asset itself. How we define it at Libre, it is all functionalities, or in a more abstract way, which should be protected and should run. For instance, functional safety is an asset for us. Also, business cases are assets. We more and more have digital business cases. They are very important to protect it. As selling software options or additional software to the customers. And those are assets are also business cases. It's very easy to understand. This not so big issue to understand assets. And there's more or less 1 or 2 dozen assets in the machine.
Ladies and gentlemen, once more, I can open up the floor to you for questions. It must have crossed your mind at some point that your machine might be under attack.
Hi, Julian.
Hi, Becky.
Becky Schultz. I am the editor of Power Progress in North America. I'm curious, many manufacturers are working with third-party telematics suppliers. It seems like there should be some onus on them to help assist the manufacturers in helping to prevent the cybersecurity attacks. How are they working with you, or are they working with you to help with that process? And in the absence of that, what solutions are you developing to help overcome this?
potential risk.
Always.
No trade secrets.
No trade secrets. Yeah, well, of course, this is one of the biggest challenge for each manufacturer because what we are doing now is to coming in discussion with our supply chain. And what I feel is that in the supply chain is a lot of question marks what to do, and we are a bit in an uncertain situation because there are a lack of standards now due to the new regulations. We are working hard to do that, yes, but we coming up with solutions, and as the time is critical, it's absolutely, this is something very challenging for us, and this should be for every manufacturer.
And perhaps the general answer is at the end of December 2027, everybody has to fulfill the Cyber Resilience Act in Europe. And yeah, this regulation handles for every product with digital elements. So every product from a supplier to your machine and the whole machine has to fulfill the Cyber Resilience Act.
Yeah.
Let me have an addition comment for that. If you're talking about telematics, is this coming up in the August this year, the new regulations, the Radio Equipment Directive, and this is the first step for having some cybersecurity measurements and so on.
And that's a very good point, because I think all companies are waiting for the standards development under the CRA. The Cyber Resilience Act is the acronym of it, CRA, and also because under this new regulation, cybersecurity is due by design and by default, meaning that all the components and elements of a machine should be designed since the design phase cyber resilient. And also for the link you made to the radio equipment directive, it was a good one, because now there's a delegation, secondary legislation that came into force recently in Europe, and there are standards already available for the radio equipment directive, addressing all the radio equipment products and elements. So this would be the first step for the implementation of the CRA, also in combination with the machinery regulation, which addresses particularly really our sector, machinery, while the CRA is very horizontal. So yeah, it's a huge thing.
How will a machine buyer know that their machine is compliant with the Cyber Resilience Act?
If he buys the machine at the end of 2027, it has to beat
all the new products placed on the market after December 2027 needs to be compliant with certificates of the assessment. So we have different kind of types of conformity assessments available for our companies. Let's see if the standards will be ready by then. By the application phase, this will be very easy for.
But like in the UK, they have the BSI, the British Standards Institute, right? Is it going to be something like that? Or is it just like...
There will be conformity assessment bodies also in Europe, so...
Just as a CE mark. Just as a CE mark. A cyber resilience, the machinery regulation is a part of the CE mark. And with the marking is a machine with a CE mark when it is compliant.
But there are also standardization. There are also standardization activities going on right now. So we are working on a off-highway ISO standard for cybersecurity. And at ZF we are developing our new controller according to that standard as well. And so according to ISO 24882, this is the EC5 controller. We've started with the development of that one 3 or 4 years ago, where cybersecurity was not so much in the scope, but we already prepared at ZF for that. For example, do we have a microcontroller now on board, which is the cyber compliant, which has got a hardware security module, and in general the form and fit of that TCU, transmission control unit, is the same like the one of the predecessor. So our the manufacturers will have not a lot trouble to integrate that into their.
So it's a like-for-like replacement, but with the addition of the cybersecurity feature.
That's correct, yes. So the harnesses, also the CAN communication, everything we remain the same. So quite easy for the OEM to change, but we will implement the cybersecurity on the microcontroller according to the CRA and to be compliant with CRA and machine directive.
I think one of the things that these answers illustrate is it's kind of quite a different type of requirement, and it illustrates the complexity because it's individual components which have to conform and have to be certified. So, your example of telematics back is one of those things on the machine which will have to conform. Here's another. Think about, how much stuff is in the machine. And that's one of the challenges, because you've got to have all the notified bodies certifying these things and conforming them. The timescale is challenging.
It's big for the industry, and it's quite different for the industry as well. And whether you want addition, coming to the telematics question once again, so we mustn't look only at the telematics from the cloud to the machine. I think one of the biggest threats is if somebody plugs to the diagnostic port of in the machine of a particular ECU, and then we get an impact into the cloud, because then the attacker achieves a control of not just one single machine, but of the fleet, and then we are the trouble of it.
Yeah, and what I can recommend on this topic is to have an exchange with your colleagues from automotive, because they had to implement the UNECU R155. They have the ISO standard 21434, and they had to do it the last years. And I think you can learn very much from them.
You're dealing with an expert when you can remember the codes of the standards. It's always very impressive to me, because I can never remember any of it.
I just wanted to add that for you to know what being compliant with the Cyber Resilience Act, if you are, so most 90% of the connected products on the market, including our machinery, are covered, fall in the category of default, critical default category, meaning that there's low or zero risk of cyber attacks. Therefore, if you are integrating as a manufacturer of machinery a component that is cyber resilient already certified, you don't have to do anything else, because your final product is not affected by the components included and integrated, embedded in your products. So each component is assessed separately if placed separately on the market.
Do you think, and this is for all you guys, do you think that artificial intelligence has any role to play in this, or do you think it's not secure enough as it stands?
I think it plays the biggest role in this, also AI, because all the new regulations in digital-related area in Europe are interlinked at the moment. We have reference under the Cyber Resilience Act to the AI Act, as well as the machine regulation, so it's very relevant for them.
There you go.
I think I think AI plays, on the one hand, a role in terms of the way attacks are occurring. So they will get more sophisticated, in my opinion. On the other hand, AI can also be used to identify anomalies in the machine. So to find out that something is strange, which typically it's getting more severe step by step, and AI can help identify that in an early stage, I would say.
So today we're here in Germany, obviously. It's part of Europe, and Europe, I mean, it's up for argument, but Europe has been up until now a leader in technology development, and what happens in Europe kind of spreads around the world in terms of dissemination of that tech. Do you think that the standards set here will be carried over in other regions, or do you think they're not going to bother?
I can share with you that last week I was attending an international meeting session with our sister associations, trade association for other regions of the world. So CEC was the host of this edition. So we had the let's say visibility of all, higher visibility of all the presentations given. And this was something praised. Also the CRA, standards for CRA look like the US are developing already standards for being compliant with the CRA. So just to give you a...
Don't mention the tariffs. If no tariffs, tariff use here.
Let's avoid that.
If I could jump in on that point, I think that is one of the concerns, is that there's a United Nations study that found that 80% of the countries in the world have some sort of cybersecurity legislation, and a further 5% or so are developing them. And that is a worry, because we've seen it in other aspects of product conformity, that there's a general direction of travel. We've seen it with engine emissions, but when things aren't harmonized, it adds a lot of headaches and a lot of costs. And even if, legislation in two parts of the world is functionally similar, you still have to get certified in every jurisdiction potentially. So I think that's one of the big concerns for the industry around cybersecurity, is does the industry have to do it over and over again in, multiple blocks and multiple areas, even with, ISO and SAE standards? That I think there is a concern about the admin, basically.
We might have some dealers with us today in the incognito crowd, the very silent crowd. How do you think cybersecurity is going to affect them? Do you think it's possibly it could increase their revenue because they will be an intermediary for the OEM?
The cybersecurity measures will do it, and together with the new regulation, we are forced to have life cycle management and give the customer for free updates. And this means this regulation for a manufacturer of machines is very difficult, right? Because our life cycle is more than 10 years, 15 years. So have different aspects. First of all, if the technique we are using 15 years ago is able to fulfill the arising in cybersecurity requirements, because security is a moving target, as never the same barrier. Tomorrow it needs this just lost every protection, and this is just on the one hand, and we are forced from the regulation point of view that we're doing having updates for free for our customers, and this means we are forced to support to maintain all this hard and software we are bringing into the market, and this is extra costs. Yes, with no extra gain for the customer, because customer and he just expected a secure solution. Yeah. And this is my point of view, yes. And this means, on the other hand, because we have only a small population of machines, we are restricted in the variation of our machines, more or less. We have it's very key view that the variation should be smaller, because with each machine, which is different, we have it 10, 15 years, community.
Or what do you think about this, for example? Do you think that when you add new technology to a machine, it generally increases the price to some degree? Very, very, very minor, sometimes quite large. Do you think adding these features is going to have to increase the price? Because the R&D will have to be recovered somewhere, right?
I think the cost drivers are the maintenance, not to have a new technology in, because we have technology cycles. If you design a new machine, you have new technology. just have a look. We have artificial intelligence on it. We need special controllers and a very expensive hardware to do that. While it is absolutely usual to have technology step done with a machine or with a technique itself, doesn't matter. But to maintain and not to discontinue product which is already marketed. As a company, you're using if the service contracts are finished and it is belongs to the customer, there's no any responsibility for that, especially functioning safely. But that now we are forced by the law to do it over the life cycle of the machine, and this is the extra cost we have to do. Yeah.
So this was one of the main advocacy point we had in CC, representing our members vis-a-vis the institutions in Brussels. I have to say that this was even stronger in the regional regulation because it was specifically linked to the life cycle of the product. Why now we have some sort of, let's say, calmer, lighter approach because it's now the use, the support period is linked to the use of the machine. So we can say that this is not a big win, but it's something that improves a bit the obligations for the manufacturer in terms of indeed supporting our customers. It does.
What about the obligations for the end user? Where is their commitment to this?
I think it's a little early to say, but I think there will be some. I think, as I said earlier, we understand as individuals that you don't click a link in an email from someone you don't know, and we all, of course, keep our phones updated. So I think there will, as part of this, there will be a kind of an education process for the industry. I mean, the products will be cyber resilient, and that's what the customers will use. But I think there will be some responsibility on them in use to understand what's good cybersecurity practice and what's risky behavior.
Are you guys feeling mildly educated? Yes? Maybe? A question perhaps from our lovely audience? Don't be intimidated. I'm not that scared. I'm really not. I'm a nice guy. I swear to God. I'm a nice guy. You're very brave, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Niklas Franskes. I'm a density consultant, and I usually work at the interface between the suppliers and the developing units. And my question is whether are there some parallels from the introduction of maybe functional security and directives what we can learn from now when the new directives regarding cybersecurity are introduced, and it's this maybe it's up to your request for report. So are there some parallels where we can learn from, and what will be the challenges in future and shipped by developer interfaces?
Our panel member from ZF has a response for you.
Yes, I think we can learn a lot from the automotive sector, because they were forced to introduce cybersecurity in the European Union in 2024, and especially that interaction between OEM and supplier along the entire supply chain was, let's say, formalized. So development interface agreements are playing an important role to make clear which party has what responsibility. And in my opinion, this is a shape which we could take over from the utility. So naming the standards 21434 and to the outward 55.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your question. I really do. Yeah, sure, Becky, please.
Autonomy is becoming more prevalent, especially if you look at industries like mining. That's become a big sector where autonomy is playing a role. We're seeing more and more manufacturers exploring autonomy for their equipment and construction and other applications. Clearly, right now, companies may not see that cybersecurity as being as big a threat, but as the more automation comes into play, is that threat becoming larger? I realize there are regulations that are coming into play in Europe, but there are companies all around the world that are already using autonomy. It's going to spread. The application of the regulation of costs, the scope globally is going to take time. Is there a message you want to get across as far as the risk that goes into, for example, an autonomous machine that may be hacked into and the threat that could be involved?
Sounds like a Terminator movie. It does.
Yeah, perhaps I can answer. I'm out of agricultural business, and autonomy is a very big topic in our business from our manufacturer. And I can say that we need standards for autonomy. And so standards are the key to put machines on the market. The machinery regulation in the future is not enough, and a Type B standard is not enough. So we out of agriculture, we are inventing Type C standards. And yeah, I think that these standards will be a key for us. And what we learned in the discussion today, I think all the legal frameworks and all the technologies are influencing each other. So we have AI, we have data exchange, European data at the AI Act, and autonomy is one part of all these data and digitalization topics in the future.
Well, I mentioned before the autonomous railroad for application for Napier. And what we discovered is we're doing risk TARAS, a risk assessment of all our machines. And this is just a very interesting question. Is the methods we have sufficient for that? My answer is clear, yes, it is. The cybersecurity doesn't refer what application it is. That's just the method. There's the aspects in the risk itself who are the autonomous application as higher requirements for security methods as a standard bootloader without any function or talent or talent-driven machine itself. This means from the point of view of the cybersecurity or product security, it doesn't matter what kinds of application you have. It's always a systemic approach to get the risk studied. And thus, it would be appreciated if we have something and the rule standards itself. But at the moment, with the horizontal standards, we are absolutely sufficient to have a good decision to debut target standards for that. Yes. Cool.
Could I just ask a quick question yourself? Of course. With the legislation that's coming, it's all about things newly placed on the market. There's no requirement to retrofit.
It's for the new brand that stays in the market. I confirm it.
That's a good question. I mean, it has to be said. I mean, my last question on my list here is the end user actually going to see any change? I mean, because your phone gets updated automatically, your PlayStation gets updated automatically. Is your tractor or your truck? I mean, surely that will get automated updates as well, right? The part people will play is rather small. It's a big thing, but it's a small part for them to collect.
Providing regular updates over the expected, let's say, lifetime of expected use time is one of the obligation in manufacturers. So this was covered, and it's a bit burdensome, of course, for our companies, but it's in the legislation already.
Do you think that the end user is going to have to, with telematic systems, the end user has to agree to have their data shared? Do you think this is
I think it's just information. It's enough because we need to have transparency over the dates registered.
The operator is even given an opt-out mechanism by CRA to not install a cybersecurity update, for example, when there's the harvesting season or something like that. So the manufacturers, they get clear obligations, but the users, they can or cannot install, and depending on whether there's for the AI infrastructure, which automatically pushes the updates.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's about a wrap for our ZF roundtable on cybersecurity. I'd like to thank my distinguished panel for taking part. I appreciate your thoughts. I really do. Thanks for you guys for taking time out from your Bauma touring to stop by and have a listen. I'm hearing that drinks and snacks are available on the stand, so please stay with us. I think our experts are going to be around if you want to have a chat with them. My name is Julian Buckley. I'm the editor of Power Progress. We're co-hosts, sort of. Please check out powerprogress.com, though, because we have lots of news about the latest machines and hardware in off-highway machinery. And that's about it. Thank you. Thank you very much.